AC on.
It gets cool, we got some
It's
in
like
here.
72 in here.
Drinking coffee.
Just something hot, it's just stagnant there.
All right, so
I would like to call this meeting of the Winnsboro Economic Development Corporation to order at 5:31 p.m. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, and notice that this meeting was posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. We would like to welcome all our citizens and visitors. If you have not signed in, please do so at the podium in the lobby. Please silence your cell phones and kindly step outside if the need to take a phone call arises. If you would like to address the board, please fill out a speaker card and turn it to the city secretary. Speaker cards are located at the podium in the lobby. You may speak when called upon. Please do not speak out from your seat. When you approach the podium to speak, please state clearly your name and full address, and time is limited to 3 minutes. With that taken care of, we'll move on to number 2, and we will start with our prayer. John, will you lead us in a word of prayer, please, sir?
Amen, Mr. President. Father, we come before you tonight, Lord, and thankful for the opportunity to serve our community. And Lord, we want to serve it with you in mind, acknowledging the kingdom of heaven and all the things that we do and all the affairs of the city. We ask that you give us wisdom, guidance, and direction as we seek that from you tonight. That we be fair and balanced and creative in the way that we move forward with the development of our town. We love you, Lord, and we thank you for this chance tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Now, pledge
allegiance
to the
flag
of
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. Public comments. This is the time for the public to address the WEDC board on any subject not listed on the agenda. However, the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the board from discussing issues which the public has not been given 72 hours notice. Issues raised may be referred to city staff for research and possible future action. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody that would like to do that?
I want to give you guys some of these. Can I do it at my,
That's perfect. You can do it. Fantastic. With there being none, we will move on to our consent items. Board, if you've already reviewed them or if you need some time to review them, can you make any changes or get any motion?
reading the financials correctly, that as of September 30th, we've got several budget items that went over budget?
Yes, ma'am. We, not, I say several, we do have a few, yes.
37,000 total.
But we're still to the good.
Yes, because we're,
22,000,
yes.
Because there were some that did not spend.
Correct, correct.
Allocated.
New business
Yes, our fiscal year ends September 30th.
That is correct. We do have a few adjustments we will be making as some of the last of the bills come in, the debit card expenses and stuff.
So this is the end of this fiscal year financial statement?
Before some adjustments, like we had some of the checks that Jan just signed, I think we had a couple in there that will be in that current fiscal year, but they weren't posted. They will not post as of yet, showing that.
And what kind of, you have any idea general idea what kind of money that is?
Yeah, it's around $57,856.84.
57,000?
Yes, that is correct. It was part of the quarterly payment to the city for the expenses that are incurred for the EDC director, the Main Street coordinator, the administrative expenses, the rent for the depot, which we no longer have. And the portion of the 5,000 for the, which it's not the full 5,000, whatever it is for the farmer's market.
Audit was 3,000.
Yes, 3,000.
So that puts us 41 grand in the hole?
No. Where are you at?
I'm looking at budget remaining. Page 3.
What are you looking at?
Page 3.
Of the financial statements,
Mhm.
where it has the comparison between the expenses and the, let me look at my, for the 100, and those are strictly expenses there.
Okay.
I mean, y'all don't see the bank balance on this. You would see the bank balance on your, I think the bank reconciliation should be in your,
Yeah, it's on like
in
page
there.
7 or
Yeah.
something.
Right now, currently, whenever I looked at the bank account before the 57,856, there is a little over, I think, $110,000 in the account. And that's after an additional 50,000 that we put to the water line that we had not, and knew we were gonna have a little bit more of that 200,000, but it didn't hit the full 200. We still had that 25,000 they didn't use. And then the quarterly payment, and then the audit. So those were some of the large expenses that ended up, that will be incorporated into that. But the sales tax, let's see, on y'all's side, I don't have it in front of me, but y'all's sales tax went well over
Yeah.
for last year too.
Sure.
So that helps.
10.4% or something, what was over budgeted. That's what that 37,000 is that's how much additional
Thank you.
over what we had budgeted.
So what was the general idea of what the bottom line was for the end of the year as far as what we did with the budget? I mean,
You're gonna have to let me go back and look at that, because off the top of my head, I don't recall. I'll have to go back and look at it and see what the actual bottom line was. But we are, compared to revenues over expenses, we are 78,000 in revenues and 45,000 in expenses. That is remaining. So we spent 86% of our budget for revenues and spent 90.89% of our expenses, but that is not including the ones that we have here. So those will still be incorporated into those expense amounts. Now, revenues should be the full revenues. I believe I got the sales tax posted on there. Oh, no, sales tax is not on here. Because it doesn't post, we don't get it until October, so it will not reflect on this. So you will also have your sales tax that should show on your September sales tax report. It does not reflect on here yet, because we haven't done all the accruals and everything.
So 19 budget, your 2019, that stopped in the end of September.
Correct, yes, yeah, we have just.
So anything that we're doing now will actually be in October,
Well,
or will it come from?
these two checks here, they will go back to September, because that's when the services were performed.
Okay.
As well as the sales tax that we have here, it will go back and reflect in September, in last fiscal year, the one that we received for October.
So we basically finished 2019 with a positive amount.
Yes, we did, yes, we did show a positive amount.
and from, my high school FOM education, it sounded to this tune somewhere, the quick adding and subtracting of what you just said a minute ago was $30,000-$40,000. Is that ballpark, you think, somewhere in that neighborhood? We had that much left in the budget?
Oh, in the budget, let's see here, 30, 100, 40, 50, let's see, 10.
And you're asking two separate questions.
Yeah, that's
I
two
think.
questions.
When you're
Because it
asking
is,
her, do we
it's-
have that left in the budget, that means we did not spend all the budget.
Yeah, 'cause your
funds in
budget
her
doesn't
mind
roll
as an-
over.
As finance and accounting, what you're asking is actually cash flow of money in, revenues, and expenses out. Was there a positive?
Yes. Yeah.
Did we spend more money than we made? No.
Right.
We did make more money than we spent. Budget-wise, no, we did not spend all of our budget. On the bottom line, when you look at the budget, once we get all these adjustments made in here for the in the fiscal year, the current expenses that are being incurred in October that were for that last fiscal year, we will go back and make those adjustments, and it will reflect, still showing that we made.
So there was actually money there.
Yes.
Somebody came to
And
us
we
and wanted
have-
to give them some.
Correct, and
can
we
still-
also
that's what we
have
wanted to know.
fund balance, we also have CDs, and you can see that on your investment policy, or the investment report for this last, to see kind of what's in there that we've got at the bank
We've
too.
spent some of
Was
that now.
the water line on last year or the year before last?
No, it's on this last year's,
Okay.
yes,
Did not
yes.
spend out of all of this.
So those two numbers could be actually added together for what we, in general dollars, real money, right?
No, that's a budget. Budget is not real dollars.
No. That's just what you hope to
your,
bring in
your,
and help to go
yeah,
out.
so,
Yeah.
and it looked like we spent, depending on how that's busted out, that 50-something thousand, the administrative one could have gone over budget because we only had 22,000 left in the budget to spend. And most of the bigger items of that 50-something that goes to the city is in, well, no, salaries and benefits are down there under director, so, yeah, not knowing how that 50-something thousand is close to having spent budget.
That's clear as mud to me.
Sorry, John.
So the answer to your question, though, there was money there if somebody wanted to come and ask for it from their business or their business.
In the budget.
It is there.
Doesn't mean.
In the budget.
Yeah, in the budget, not real.
You can spend more than what's in your budget.
That's
It
right.
goes into what was in your reserves in your account before you started things, so.
Sounds like a conversation with my accountants.
Okay,
That's
so
why
in
they do that.
the administrative side, y'all show, and I don't know that mine, I've written these checks since then, but I show about, in the administrative expense side, there's about 36,000 there. Only about 24 to 25,000 of that will come, of what this additional check is, will be coming out of that. So you still have, you're still above on your expenses on admin side.
Wow, Alexa, next Jan.
Can I ask a
get
question
you in
as a
trouble.
layperson?
If you're cool, I'm cool.
Jan, is it the EDC's job to have a zero balance?
That would be a Craig Lindholm question. I don't know what,
No.
Not necessarily, because we want to have the money, and if, say, a big industry was to come in, we want to have the money there to be able to help them. We don't
But
want
for
to
the
just...
incentive.
Aren't those under the investments in the CDs and things like that? Or is that?
It's a separate deal, yeah. We
Okay.
try to have, which sales tax is where we get, where the EDC gets their revenues from, and that is primarily the only place they get it from. And so we, so yeah, I mean, the increase in sales tax is always great, and we did increase it this year, and I hope I didn't overextend myself on that, so, but yeah, for projections, that's kind of where we're at.
So you
and
try
what we
not
see.
to spend
Yes.
everything?
Yes, that is correct.
I try not to spend everything too.
Yeah, try not to, it just doesn't happen all the time.
Just remember,
Because there
just
could-
because you have checks.
there could be a year that sales tax are down, and then you need that cushion to continue to operate.
Yes.
I mean, you still have fixed overhead that does not go away
That
just
is
because
correct.
sales tax revenues are down.
Yes.
But when you guys budget, do you budget to a zero budget?
We do a balanced budget,
You
that
balance-
is
okay,
correct.
balanced
Yes,
budget.
Yes, that is correct.
We actually put more in there going into some of those reserves, because I've asked that question before. Wait, we've only got an X of sales
Yes.
tax coming in, and our budget shows if we spend everything, we could be several $100,000 over there.
Well, yeah, not several hundred thousand, but yes, but that's when you start looking at your projections, even though you've budgeted for those amount of sales tax revenues throughout that next fiscal year and your incentives and stuff, it's important, if you're not getting that overage on that sales tax that you expect to get each month, you're projected each month, then you are like, oh crap, we can't meet that budget that we've incorporated for the incentives. So we have to kind of keep an eye on all that.
Will we
Sales
get,
tax
after everything is retroed to September 30th,
Yes,
will
ma'am.
we get a retroed and finished and
Yes.
final?
Yes,
You're gonna,
We will,
okay,
yeah.
that's the one we want to
yeah,
see.
yeah. Once all the
Right now,
adjustments
there's
and
two
everything are
moving
made, 'cause we're
parts
doing all the
of-
accruals and
Of
everything for it, so.
Is that 30 days
Of
after?
her putting
Usually
it,
60, I think
depositing
60
it,
days,
did
that is
other
correct.
expenses and so,
Yeah.
and then you're already into your new budget
Yeah.
year.
Yes.
Then do you adjust, and then I guess you just watch it if you're over budget? I'm sure that happens a lot.
Yes, you have to go in and do some
And do
amendments.
some adjusting.
Yep. Yes.
It's tough to decipher when you can't see it's tough to see the streams.
Yeah.
You know, my business, I can see streams. I know.
Well, yeah, because you see it every day,
Yeah.
and I can understand that
Trying to put my
completely.
mind around this, listening to you guys, I'm like, man, just
Yeah.
tell me if we got it really. Are we
Write a
broke?
check.
Is it red? Is it black?
No, we're definitely in the black, so.
That's why we have a banker and accountant on here.
Yes, that's exactly
That
right.
is so smart.
Yay, the bank.
Yeah, speak up, Preston.
Yeah, come on, Preston. He's over there just.
Feel free to say, no, she's wrong. Accountants and bankers, I do finance, he does accounting, and
I'm just trying to get it all in my head at one time.
Well, and it's hard to see on those tablets too, and I know, and I would be more than happy to print that
they
kind of
asked
stuff
me
out
one
for y'all
time,
to
do you
look
want to
at.
coach an accounting thing at the high school for UIL? And I said, I'm a banker, I'm not an accountant. We
Yeah.
are two totally separate
Yes.
animals. I read what they give me, I don't.
Yeah, I don't put it all
I didn't mean
together.
to insult you.
I can't figure out. And banks are just the opposite, too, of the rest of the world. So when I'm looking at my balance sheet, I have to rethink when I'm looking at somebody else's. So I'm sorry, a little side note there.
It's a good sign.
I make a motion that the WDC Board of Directors approve the consent items as presented at this month's meeting.
We have a motion by Jan. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Jim.
I got that right, because it wasn't up there for me to read.
Well,
We need to make verbal.
There we go. Okay, fell off. Fantastic.
Do we need to verbally signify?
It all of them pop up on your side, Angie?
Jen's not here.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
You
But just
are,
for the public.
you are
Motion
technically
passed.
supposed to.
Technically.
Yes, it doesn't have to be a roll call though.
Well, I just meant.
It just has,
vote.
it's supposed to be a verbal, yes, it is.
Okay, with that taken care of, we will move into 5-1. Michelle Estes, this is your time, or?
My time, after talking about a budget, I'm scared.
Yes, ma'am, I'll be there.
First, I want to officially invite you guys, since you supported us so greatly.
We got Jim again this week.
Jan, I know. Do that every year.
Well, it's not this week, it's next week.
You're here.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
I thought you said you're gonna be
I'm
asking
on
this week.
7th.
And there's no pages on this, but anyways, the Winds mural will be a paint day for like, if you have a business that wants to donate $50 and have somebody from your business paint a heart.
Can you do that some other time besides Saturday?
Yeah, Ally will take care of that, yes ma'am, she sure
Yeah,
will.
Christy's calling Ally.
Anyway, so you guys just call Ally Miller, and she is taking care of all the spots that need to be filled.
Saturday.
My paint job wasn't great last year.
Oh, did you do bad?
Jim and I did. It was fun.
That's okay.
We had
I
fun.
love seeing last year's mural and a lot of the senior pics and
Yes.
just really a cool background that
Mhm.
kids have used for.
And this year, we're going to have a more like designated photo op place. I tried to get Josh to do something else, and he said he would, but he's a busy boy, so hopefully he'll come back one day and do that. Cheryl Estes, 209 North Main Street in Winnsboro, and I'm here on behalf of myself. Copper Leaf is in need of a roof. I have sent you, given you guys, or Charles put together y'all's packet. I have 2 bids included in that packet. Also, I have a check from my insurance company that gave me $5,900 to cover $7,500 square feet of roof. We need an insurance person on this board. Oh, we have one. Oh, isn't that amazing?
How about that?
She worked that well.
Olivia, looking at.
That was good.
Anyways, and I am going for the existing business assistance program, structure assistant program. I checked with a couple people to see if this was fitting. And obviously it will be up to you gentlemen and ladies to let me know if it is or is not. Copperleaf's been in business 14 years. I think in their packet it talks about maybe what I bring to the table. I'm gonna toot my own horn, but I am if it helps.
Yes, it's in there.
Okay.
Yeah, he put a bunch in there.
I bring in lots of feet downtown.
Yes.
Page 11, you can find it.
Now, of course, everything I've got is documented, so, you know, we bring 4,000 people in every year, do about $1.5 million. So some of that's sales tax, 9,000, a little under 10,000 sales tax, that helps the EDC. And the other 1,996,000 helps the economy. Back in April, I had a roofer guy come and encouraged me to make a claim on my old existing roofs, which I've had leaks and had fixed, and I've had redone. Back in 2012, I had a lot of work done. Anyways, so after it was all said and done, I got a check for $5,900 to re-roof all 3 buildings. So I was stuck, and so I've been saving money ever since April, knowing that obviously I'm going to have to put in some cash to get my roof fixed. So here I am, asking if the existing business structure assistance program would qualify, or the Copperleaf would qualify to be part of that. The roof really is going to cost about it's going to cost anywhere from $35,000 to $43,000, depending on which bid we go with. 2 totally different bids. I'm going to talk to a couple insurance people to find out why there's such a big discrepancy, because that's 10 grand out of my pocket. And that will come after I see if I can get any assistance here from the EDC. So I've deposited the $6,000 or the $5,900 into my account. I have saved some money. I have money stashed in my incentive areas. My reserve areas, I guess you call them, my reserve areas. And so, here I am.
Did the inspector that looked at your roof say that there was hail damage?
The inspector said that there was hail damage on the 5,000 square foot part. He estimated to replace my roof would be $18,000. To replace the 5,000 square foot roof was $18,000 is all they were going to give me, minus my depreciation, blah, blah, blah. That came down to $5,900. The 213 roof had tin on it. It had other things, but it had tin. And apparently he said that was cosmetic, not leaky. And
Did
so,
it leak?
oh yeah, it leaks. It leaks, it has leaked, honestly, for a while. It's leaked worse since the last storm in April. Definitely made it a whole lot worse. But they're deeming that as cosmetic. You see my denial report is that it is cosmetic, and I asked my insurance agent why, and he said it was due to the tin nature of the materials used.
Yeah, most tin roofs have a cosmetic exclusion on there, so. Did they not find that the water damage was caused by any of the hail damage? Are they saying that's some sort of just patch job to fix that, or they're not saying there's water damage at all?
They're saying that the cosmetic the tin roof is out. That's the one that, from both buildings, actually leaks the worst.
Yeah, so the 209 is the one they paid for.
The
213 they denied. Okay.
They denied 213 due to the cosmetic nature of the tin. The 209, they gave me the $5,900 to replace that roof.
So did you have a 2% wind and hail deductible
Yes, I
on
did.
that? And did you have an ACV policy on
Yes,
the
I
roof?
did.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yes, I did.
Have you contacted a public adjuster to get them to go to bat for you to get
Who's
more
that?
from your
No, no, I have not.
An independent adjuster.
Oh, okay, no, I
You
haven't.
hire them to basically come look at it, you pay them a fee, they come look at it and determine if it's something that the insurances should be.
And if they don't get you
Deemed
any money, they
responsible.
don't charge you. Is my
Well, yes, I
understanding.
guess sometimes they do that. I know one that we use, they were just like flat fees, but they might do that. Not charge
Like
you.
a cotton.
No, I have not done that. I have not done that.
That might be something that you could look into,
Okay,
at least for your 213 building.
okay.
Because I mean, technically they paid you for 209.
Yes, they did.
So I mean,
And as an insurance guy, $18,000, I was a little shocked that they thought that 18,000 could replace 5,000 square foot of roofing, flat roofing.
so this is the one,
At 209.
that bid is that, what did AVCO have it broke down into buildings? Or is it just one?
No, he was going, he originally started this, and he was going to just do them both.
He just has a flat rate?
Yes,
Okay.
his fee, and he was gonna give me a, fairly decent price, which I feel it is,
Yeah,
for both roofs,
yeah,
of 43,000, with, the same composite that they put on this roof.
yeah. Yeah, because it's in this castle top, it says that they would do the 209 for $10,000.
They were going to do, and this is again, as soon as I talked to you guys to see if there was anything here, I was going to go to the insurance companies, a couple people I know, including yourself, Chet, and see what was the difference in the materials used.
Yeah.
Because he was talking about some sort of leveling plastic material at 209. I just want to make sure that my insurance company deems it coverable and also deems it, not the ACV, but the replacement cost.
That's something you would need, I would highly recommend changing, because
Yes,
that's where you get eaten up.
yes, yes,
And especially if you get rid of that 2% deductible social security as well.
yes, yes, and yes. It's like insurance 101.
As far as, that does qualify, doesn't it, doing something like this?
If
Charles?
it's,
It does qualify on this because it's the upgrade of current or future building stock. So if
Helping
someone,
business keep going.
exactly.
so it comes down to is if we want to get into the business of doing roofs, basically, what it comes down to.
And you can also table it so that she could apply again later, so she could go to one of the independent adjusters, see if they can help her, and she'd be able to come back if not.
Well, I think it's definitely, it sounds to me like you still have some questions for yourself. I mean, I would definitely. Finding out who I'm gonna use, what the number's actually gonna be, what the cost is gonna be, for sure. I don't know, Chet, how do you mean whether or not we wanna get in the business of doing roofs? I mean, other than that's what the money will be used for?
Well, if we did this, it would eat up at 75% of our budget amount for the year, for this one, for all of our incentives. And then it just makes it where it can be seen as we buy roofs. And I don't want that. And I know that's not what you're looking for.
No, and you know what, I really don't know how much we have in the incentive, because I would much rather come in here and go, hey, I got an idea, and it's gonna cost, $8,000, and it'd be great if you could help me, and we're going to bring in, I would love to do that. But I saw the existing business structure, and I was like, I wonder if that means my existing business. But I will say, I do not wanna take 75% of your budget
No.
whatsoever.
The reason I ask that question is, isn't the incentive deal, like, if a business has to remodel, or that's part of the deal, isn't it? Their qualification, or if they move to a building where they've got to do things to get it ready.
The last one we did was Annie Mae's Coffee and Cafe, and that one was approved because it was a new business downtown that would bring in more sales dollars, And even if she were to go out of business, there's another existing building downtown with a fully functional kitchen that was put in.
And it was hiring more people and
Exactly. It
everything.
went from
Yes.
the floral shop, which I think she had 2 employees, to now Amy Mae's Coffee and Cafe has between 8 and 12.
Wow.
And for clarification, what was the difference between this incentive and Risers?
Risers, that one still goes to economic vitality, and that brought in equipment that we don't have in Winnsboro, so people are gonna go to him to get laser x-rays, all of that kind of stuff, instead of leaving town and taking their sales dollars to other communities.
I couldn't bend my thumb.
So you're not gonna put in,
So,
I'm talking about the laser. Just tell me.
didn't we do,
No
didn't
surgery.
EDC also do, there was another thing on Main Street where 2 buildings were, I guess, came together?
We helped 5C Custom Creations as well, Monica Kaufman's.
No, that's not the one. This one was a while back. It was for,
I don't remember that.
what's the other insurance guy? Who's your competition?
Hazelwood.
Oh, Hazelwood.
That building.
That back end?
Yeah. Didn't we do something? Didn't the EDC give
That's a
money to?
revolving loan fund.
Oh, that was.
Yeah.
the revolving.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's-
it's revolving.
that's-
It's not EDC.
No, that's us. Okay, never mind. That's us.
Yeah.
Would you attribute your problem with the insurance companies? And what I mean by that, I had to ask to redo my roof. And of course, it's all metal, and they did the whole thing. And I just wondered where we stopped with yours.
Jeff, that's a good question.
On which part?
Just, why did I have a problem and Preston not? He had a tumor.
Getting paid for a roof?
Yeah, they covered my roof except for my deductible, the whole thing.
Because you probably had a replacement cost policy. Be my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
did.
may not had a 2% deductible. Because that's,
Is that not standard?
Actually, I had
2%
a,
deductible? Okay.
1% is gonna be
Is
standard.
it?
2% is gonna be like what a surplus lines company is more along, their standard, I guess. But it's not
Usually go
very
1%
standard.
with replacement cost?
If you're closer to the coast, 2% is gonna be standard, but up here, no.
Okay.
I had something in my deductible was $6,000 and the roof was 46,000.
So they did that's a full, complete redo.
Yeah.
Do you have a flat roof?
Mhm.
Is yours a flat roof?
Mhm.
No, it has a
Yours has a slant?
incline.
Yeah.
Mine has a decline, but it's flatly
I don't know,
declined.
maybe they're just talking about
It's a
looking
general
at it like,
It's a general decline.
I don't know.
And
I wonder if that's just putting on the tar and the paper, if that's what they're just talking about redoing on yours, I don't know.
You know what, honestly, I would rather see something better than my roof come into play with the EDC's money.
I think I would really love if you tried with the independent adjuster.
I will
first.
do that. I didn't know where to go with this.
Maybe try covering all your bases and then we can table it like what Charles says, if everybody else is in agreements, and then
Let's do that.
we can try something at a later date. I would highly recommend that. If you were my customer, that's what I would recommend,
Okay.
is just try that and see what they say. See if it's something that's, maybe this hail is causing the water damage, which that's something to move towards a new roof. I mean, it's one box checked, so.
They know how to negotiate with the insurance agents and I mean, not the agents,
The adjusters.
the adjusters know how to negotiate
The
with,
in-house adjusters.
with the big companies,
Yes.
the insurers.
So you're saying it's an independent adjuster?
Is what she needs to have.
So she's hiring an adjuster that works for her, as contrary to the insurance company, that the adjuster they send out, they don't want you to get very much money.
So where do I find one of those, Jeff?
yeah.
You could
I mean,
try.
do I
you
call my insurance company?
You- I would-
Your insurance
start
company
with-
does not want you to have.
They don't want you to-
No,
You don't
don't
want
go
anybody to
there.
do that, is that correct?
You don't want to call your insurance company.
Okay.
I would talk with AVCO. They might know somebody. They might even be might have someone on staff that's a licensed independent adjuster. I don't know. But I would try with them.
Is that what you're
Okay,
saying?
okay, got it.
You know, if that-
Let
if
me see
that's
if I
your-
can find a business card.
Okay.
If that's your particular roofer you would like to use, it's worth a try. They might know somebody that's gone to bat and done good, maybe.
I'm really not picky, to be honest with you.
I don't want
No, I
Right now
mean,
is-
but it's, well, and while we're sitting here for a minute, let me just ask you, as a insurance guy, the composition that is on this roof is, are you familiar with what they put on this roof?
No.
Does anybody know what they put on this roof, Dana?
I can go get my paperwork and tell you, because it is a material that is, it is water, it has a water
It's a
repellent
membrane.
resistant, yes,
Yeah.
yes. thank
Is that
you.
what, like what they put on the newspaper office?
It's just, oh, no, that's.
I don't know.
And they heat weld it together.
Yeah,
Comes out
oh,
the
yes.
sheets that they put,
It's called a.
Because we
And they were
had.
just
it
gonna
was
go
horrible.
flat roof to flat roof
Okay,
with that fabric.
okay.
And then this other guy was going to use a plastic fabric that was a leveling fabric.
Okay. That's, see, a lot of that stuff is very new, like the stuff they did on that, the newspaper office, I know the office is right there next to it, I'm watching it. That's like a new product, so I don't know much about that. You know, it's, that's supposed to be the new thing over, like, you know, that instead of putting like the asphalt and tar and stuff down, this is supposed to be the new thing. It's supposed to be richer, I don't know.
I will tell you, we just spent a whole lot on a new roof and I had leaks this morning, so
That's what
the
they
guy
got.
is looking.
And I can't think of
I
his name
will
right
tell
now.
you, somebody got on our roof to add lights and we didn't have problems before and we do now, so he's inspecting to see if there are some.
Okay.
On 271 there at Buford's and right there at the, between, outside of Pittsburgh, I can't think of the name right now, but I will think of it. Big roofing company, really, really solid guys. And you certainly, I would recommend that you talk to them before you do anything too.
But I'm just looking for an independent adjuster.
You just need, you need independent adjusters. One of these big roofing companies might have one on staff. They might be one of the contractors, one of the bidders or something like that. They might be a licensed independent adjuster or something like that.
Okay.
Basically, they're there to mediate. They're gonna get between where you don't have to deal with it, and they're gonna figure out if actually, first thing is if you actually have a claim. If they think you have a claim, and if they do, then they start talking with the insurance company and showing all their proof,
They'll look at your policy, they'll look at your roof, what they've offered you so far, and then they bridge the gap of.
Which, yeah, your only thing really is if possibly you wanna get a different material on your roof, but the insurance company is only deemed responsible to pay for like material. So whatever they're paying you for is something along the lines of either what you have or a newer model of whatever your roof is. Now, they're not gonna pay you to put like a metal roof on a cheaper, flat, asphalt roof. They're not gonna give you that. So then that may be why yours is 18 and his was 45.
Oh, it could be.
But, I mean, they, for the most part, I mean, they took care of you on the 209. Your biggest thing is your 213 bill. Unless the other roofer feels like it should cost more to fix your 209 location, then we might have a claim on that one as well.
Well, he was gonna do the same roofing on both, so he was just gonna go flat across
Yes,
the
ma'am.
whole thing. Okay, well, let's table it.
Okay.
After all that, no, I learned a little bit about roofing.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hopefully you got something out of that.
I did, absolutely. And, I mean, just as a proponent of the town, I think there may be, you need to maybe button down that structure
Yeah,
program a little bit,
and more.
so that,
That's why we have these guys to decide if it's
yeah,
a good investment or not. It is too loosely worded.
Yeah,
You're
it is.
correct. And when you look at it with expenditures we still have coming out with rental assistance and EBS from Dr. Reiser and things like that, our actual budget for incentives this year is more like around 15,000.
Okay.
So that's
So-
about all we've got left.
So we've already allocated 5,000.
and you just started, I mean, this is a brand new year.
Yeah, well,
Because we had to
Geisler's
break, we
is
had to break it
about
up because we were just gonna put
6,400.
us over,
Correct.
we were
Yeah.
gonna overspend for last one. Yeah.
I'd rather see it go to something that would really, like animes,
Well, I
that
hate
really
that,
brought.
yeah.
Okay.
I hate roofing.
All right, we are going to table item 5-1 for a later date, and we'll move on to 5-2. closing out the performance agreements.
Do you know anything about these?
So yeah, I'm just the one that found them,
Well,
which I wish.
we haven't formed forever,
Yeah.
There are some performance agreements that have not been closed out and forgiven. These were given to these businesses 3 years ago. And we have, I believe there's one here that was June, and I apologize that all this stuff is not dated. It's what we have found, so, and I apologize for that. But these were copies that were executed for West Chevron, Copperleaf Day Spa, and East Texas Automotive. Copperleaf has, which thankfully Cheryl's here, she received $35,000 and she had to stay in business for 3 years, and she had to have 2 full-time and 2 part-time employees in corporation with all this, the way this performance agreement. She has met her agreement, and we would ask that this loan of $35,000 be forgiven for Copperleaf Day Spa. We'll take these, I guess y'all can do them one at a time.
Do you want to do them one at a
Do it as a
time?
whole, that's up to y'all, however y'all want to do it.
Um,
I don't know how they gave them to you.
everything is,
Yeah, it's on one.
Oh,
It's
is
on
it all
one.
in one? Okay.
let's just,
So
We
all
also-
of these happened
These were in
several of us were on the
2016.
board.
That is
For
correct.
So
every
these-
one of us
these
was on.
were-
Yes.
None
There
of us
was
were.
not
So
one
can I
of
get
you.
some back history? So
As
they weren't
best
just
as I
granted
can.
those, there was like
These
some-
were to help these businesses, West Chevron, they added on to their building as part of their performance agreement, they had to be in business for 3 additional years and have 9 employees, whether they be part-time, full-time. East Texas Automotive, they had to, this helped, I guess, build their business, which John can attest to this, or however they needed to do. When they started their business at their current location, and they had to be in business for 3 years, and they also had to have, and I've read through this, and
I think it's 3.
3
I think
employees,
it's 3
yes, I
employees.
believe that is correct.
4
So,
to 5. Woo-hoo.
yes, yay!
6 in the summer.
Yes. But these businesses have met their performance agreements, and we ask that they're in, and these were substantial. I mean, there were 2 at $40,000 and 1 at $35,000. That EDC had funds that they were able to help these businesses, which has also helped our community immensely. And they are very thriving businesses. So we would ask that these loans be forgiven. And that's how these were incorporated initially, that if they met their performance agreement, that they would be forgiven.
I think we need to honor the commitment of our past board members and
They-
Yeah.
We read
Since
through
they
them
have
and they
fulfilled
took
their
care of their
obligation.
side,
We
yeah.
need to fulfill our obligation.
Just something we need to vote on.
Yes, it is.
Something I need not to vote on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Things that we did as a whole, yes, that would be correct. You can vote on it if you want, but it doesn't count, sorry.
Well, it'd go with that same.
I move that the WDC board approve the loan forgiveness of and close out the performance agreements for Copperleaf Spa, East Texas Automotive, and West Chevron.
We have a motion by Jim. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second by Michael.
John, you can stay on
That's what she's asking. I do that.
Yeah, click abstain. Fantastic. Motion passed.
Thank you on behalf of these 6 young
Help me pay for my roof. Appreciate that. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Do we have any staff presentations or reports?
Just want
Okay.
to touch on one thing, keep you all in the loop. We've been continuing contact with Brian Hawkins and the fertilizer manufacturing business that he wants to bring into the iTech manufacturing building. We're almost done. We put them in touch with Holden and they're working out an agreement and to get that building in a contract. KCS has helped us a lot with the railroad side of it and putting in the spur. It shouldn't cost too much to do the spur, we're hoping, but I don't think it's gonna stop them at all, so we'll have,
Who's responsible for that?
for what?
The spur.
It's mixed. KCS, the railway company that's there, but at the same time, they'll forgive some costs based on how much he'll be using the spur, which will be quite a bit. He's gonna be bringing materials in and out.
So it's
gonna
his
lower-
responsibility, it's not like his
Yes,
property or
yes.
what?
We're looking at a Texas capital grant
Okay.
to help with it and to help put in a conveyor to the spur from the back of the iTech building.
There already was one at one time, right?
There was one at one time, that's what's making it so easy,
Yeah.
is it's already in place, they just have to do a little
Updates.
TLC to it and get it up and running again, it hasn't been used for a while.
Is that building in that tax-free zone? I know one of the buildings, there was something out there that there were some incentives at some point in time, that it was like
The tax investment.
something unusual out
Tax
there.
inclusion reinvestment zone, I don't think they're in it right there.
Am I in that?
That's a TERS.
Yeah.
I don't think they're in it.
Where is that zone?
It was a state thing, where the state waived,
Oh, I don't know.
I don't remember, it was
I'm
a
not
franchise
aware of
tax
that.
on your
I'll look at
inventory
that.
or something, it was like a free trade, something.
Well, they
out
have,
there.
the state of Texas
Somewhere that
has,
was an unusual, I mean, just something I read in the paper, I wasn't on any of these boards at that time, but I remember thinking, that's interesting and pretty impressive that Winnsboro has,
I mean, they'll do tax abatements on your equipment
no,
and
this wasn't a
property
tax
all day.
abatement, this
but-
was actually like a free trade, I don't know, it was like a import, I don't know what it was, there was something there that was,
I know what you're
That
talking
was-
about, I'll look more into it, but I'm not sure if they're in it right there. But I think that's in the Dairy Farmers of America area, but I'm not sure if it
is
crosses
the
over.
idea, the old, does it face 515, or does it face All-Star
All-Star.
Drive?
Yes.
It's on it faces All-Star
Faces
right there.
Budweiser had
right
that
where
originally,
the-
that building or something that was right there?
I think the
Or is that where
Budweiser
they
one
were?
was the one on the corner that Team Air owns now, and they lease out for storage for Dairy Farmers of
Just something
America.
to check on. There was some kind of an unusual zone
There.
there, and that's why the railroad was there, was because they could ship stuff
I'll look
in
into
and
it.
out,
Just make
some
sure,
kind
'cause
of
I-
a,
Yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking to, one more hook to make sure we get them
Right.
here. If that was just one more dangle that didn't cost us anything,
Yeah.
that they could benefit from to
Yeah.
close the deal.
For sure. And then, last week I was in San Antonio with the Texas Economic Development Council where I met a few site selectors. So currently we're putting together a portfolio of available properties that business owners might be, or landowners might be wanting to sell. And we're gonna take those out to a couple site selector companies in Dallas and Waco and see if we can get any bites on that, see if they'll wanna buy up some property in Winnsboro and build. We may have to do some infrastructure or something like that, help with water and electric if we can. But on our end, that shouldn't be too much. We're just right now trying to sell Winnsboro to bigger industries.
Right.
Also working on mom and pops though for the downtown revitalization program. That's a tough one. There aren't site selectors for mom and pops, and we don't want chains downtown, so we're trying to figure out strategies for that. I don't know if that's gonna require new incentives to bring businesses in, or what we're gonna be able to do, but we're looking at it. We're trying everything we can.
Fantastic.
That's it for me.
Thanks, Charles.
Any questions about what's going on right now?
Yeah, I have a question across from Grace Fellowship. Is there anything going on?
I'm looking at that property, that's one of the big ones we've got. They have a very high traffic count right there. And
There's
I
that.
think Grace or the First National owns that property.
I've
It's not Grace.
That's not Grace.
I
We were gonna, when the high school was going out that way,
Yeah, I
we
think
bought
yours
that
is
track
across
to do
from
branch
Tractor
there
Supply.
instead of,
Yeah, y'all on up closer to the intersection.
Yeah.
we're at 515 and 852, the southeast corner.
Yeah, and that one as well, that one I think
Grace
has, it's close to
owns
14,000
their
cars
corner.
a day. It's high.
And
You're talking about the one where they're
somebody
putting the
owns
courthouse
the
in?
side.
Next to that.
Yeah, the one they were gonna put the
Yes,
courthouse
yes,
in.
that's it.
Where the
Oh,
rates
yes, it
real
was
high.
that. I heard somebody say that.
Yeah.
did
Don't
the
they
courthouse
do they
not buy
still
that?
own?
No,
No.
The courthouse didn't
Well,
buy
did
that
they?
There's
property?
been, there's
They
been
bought it.
trucks
And they
over
bought that
there.
property.
For like
They
all
had
week I've
purchased
seen
it.
trucks over there.
I don't think they ever bought it.
I didn't
No, I think they did because there was,
gonna buy it.
there was,
Across
there was
the
money that they got.
What is
So
the name?
But they failed on the opportunity.
The name I
to
asked you
get the
about.
courthouse.
East
I-
Texas
that's
is
not
Dutch.
happening.
Yes.
Oh.
No, that's not happening.
A Youngsma?
Young.
Well,
Young's,
they've got some people in there with saws. and equipment.
Youngsma,
Yucca?
Youngsma, Yucca.
Yeah, Chip may know.
Anybody,
Youngsman is the last name.
yeah, if anybody knows them, they have a ridiculous amount of properties that would be very good for industries around here. They own a lot of properties.
It's the
right
dairy
there,
people,
550.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Team?
it's far, it's further past, the big dairy farmer's plot, so.
And it kind of all around the dairy farm?
Yeah, it's all around
Do
it.
you have
They
Base Highway 11, not 515?
Yes, they're on 11.
Okay,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
makes sense, because that's where their dairy and
Yeah.
everything. And I said, on 515, where are you?
No, yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was scratching my head going, there's
Are-
not
are they- are
being
they-
empty.
Is it an old name, Chet?
The far as I know, the gentleman that owns it is shut down as dairy, but I think maybe the daughter and a new husband are trying to run it, I believe. I don't know, it's just what I was told,
Yeah, it's,
so.
they have a lot of property over there.
It's a big chunk, I think it's
Yeah.
like 7.
Oh, they have
It's also
multiple,
very
they have
famous.
multiple lots over there.
That one, the building big track, and then they've
Yeah.
got some small ones off of it.
Any other questions?
You might be able to answer this. What's the source of funds for the performance agreements? How does that relate to WEDC?
I think those came from CDs back in the day, when they were.
I
doing them.
honestly couldn't even begin to tell you.
Possibly hot funds?
And
Do you remember? No.
No, it
Hot
wasn't hot
funds.
funds, it
No,
was,
it's
I mean,
hot
because the
funds.
only source of revenue that the EDC's ever had is the sales tax.
I know it was something that the state did. They did the
it
state
was.
did the reoccurring one,
The revolving loan
the revolving
fund.
loan one.
But the EDC closed their revolving loan fund in 2014. And the only revolving loan fund we have currently is, well, it's the revolving loan fund, which it was really based on the city under USDA.
Yes.
Do we have?
This is a
any
very-
outstanding
It's based on
performance
grant though,
agreements?
isn't it?
Huh, I'm sorry,
I don't
Preston?
think.
Do we have any outstanding performance agreements?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Do we need to collect them?
We will wait till the next meeting.
Yes, we need to collect them, 'cause we
Yes.
need incentive money.
Yes.
Ours were portrayed as grants when
Yes,
we
They were grants.
applied.
Yes.
I thought that they found that they had like $125,000-$200,000 in an investment, something or another.
That's what I understood.
Okay.
That was absolutely what I understood. And they were based on new business or businesses that had the potential to grow
Yes.
in whatever they were doing. Because we had already started construction on ours when Gail Cooper approached us and said, we have EDC has grant money. I remember that, don't remember all of it, but I understood what we were gonna be required, what was gonna be required of us, and I'm pretty sure that you guys fell in the exact same time, and so
we
did
did,
Yeah,
Paula.
it was.
And that was all coming out of that group of money that came from that grant, stimulating new business or growth of existing.
Okay. I'll continue.
Is
I
there
have-
some
I have the contract.
organization that has mom and pop stores that are looking for Winnsboros and places to open? Or, I know the Main Street group is very active and has their weekly meetings on, I know, kind kind of what kind of business we need, what would bring people into Winnsboro, and
So we all know what kind of businesses we need, we just
Yeah,
can't find
there's,
them.
there's a big list of what
We just
businesses.
don't
we
want to
need
move
there.
here. You know, everywhere you go, you just lay out a card and it's like, we all need, we know we need oven brick pizza,
Yeah.
you know, we're
Yeah.
dying for that. Recording studio like we've talked about for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Love one of those.
Well, but the buildings that are available are not necessarily available. Nobody can afford them.
There's, they
Well,
get
we had-
leases
we had
that
a huge
are
problem.
we
immediately
had a brick
taken
pizza
to
place that was coming
attorneys.
into town, is that?
Gone.
That's what happened was.
In fact, they didn't even come back to
Yeah.
the art
They-
festival.
Oh, they did.
They got a lease that was outrageous and backed out.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, it was a big problem.
And we've run into that problem quite a few times. Same thing happened with Monica when she had to come back and reapply for a different building because she faced the same issue with the lease that was,
We almost lost her.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and there are owners that have buildings that don't care if they
No.
have anybody in there.
That's the same owner.
Same.
Same owner doing the lease.
That's what we're
Yeah.
doing.
They don't care.
We just got back from Portland, and one afternoon, we went to, just had a few hours to kill, and I was like, well, what's something different and unusual that we haven't done? And there was this art place, and you could go and do like the paint with the canvas. We actually did glass blowing,
Cool.
and we made like, I mean, there was just, you know, hands-on stuff, and there were all kinds of people in there spending lots of dollars to be crafty and
Be crafty.
We don't have any
you know,
glass
and
blowing, but I
so I
think,
mean, I don't know, I mean, I was just
I think
thinking,
this month
you know,
started-
ladies, get, I mean, you know, like, you'll have, you know,
Yeah.
Well, 5
groups
cities
of ladies
almost-
that
they've
will go
almost
into a
finished theirs.
town and they'll eat and they'll do their little,
The art center's doing that. They've got a lot of classes on
They do,
different types of art stuff. That
Okay.
It's bringing people
Yeah.
in.
but this
It's
is in the
the same with-
storefront, I mean,
yeah,
they had all
it's the
kinds
same
of
with
glass
storefront.
blown pumpkins and cute little
Monica's
things to
doing
go
it.
in your,
Yeah.
that's what she's doing
Yeah.
with
Next
that? Oh,
next
awesome.
to
Okay.
David Estes's barber shop.
Oh, awesome.
She has that other little place that she's renovating.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she's
Classes
gonna put some
start
hands-
at the
Yeah,
end
she's
oh,
got
awesome.
lots of classes.
Awesome.
Go on 5C Creation Facebook and you'll see the
Can you
classes.
eat and drink wine and paint?
Absolutely.
Yes, she has
That is
the
awesome.
Pinot
I mean, that just, that
painting
brings
and she has
in
calligraphy
people,
classes.
ladies that like to come
Monica Kaufman at
make a
5C.
day of going to the spa,
Yeah,
and
right back
then
there.
maybe you should do the art stuff and then go to the spa, so you're not as stressed after you're all.
Right.
Rooftop
Eat
massage.
and-
That's it, a rooftop pool.
No, we're talking about that as a cultural arts district, the group. We're just talking about finding artists who can have a storefront in Winnsboro. Now, the problem is finding a storefront that is affordable, that we can, you know, have rental assistance or whatever. We got a lot of things in place. We just have to have the building inventory.
There's a place in Green that every time we, you know, go there, not very often, every few years, they do pottery. And the sad thing was, I asked 3 merchants walking around, there used to be a little pottery place here, can you tell me where it is? None of them could say, oh yeah, it's right back. And we just, as we were making,
That's sad.
Frank said, what's in that big building?
It's a pottery place.
It was the pottery
Oh
place.
my gosh. Well, you can make your own pottery at the art center. They're getting pottery wheels
Mhm.
and.
The art center is the annex.
Yeah.
Mary's
Mary's annex.
What do they,
yeah.
do they
That's
charge?
awesome.
I don't
Oh,
know,
I'm
it's
sure
different.
there's
for-
the
Yeah,
charge,
they do.
yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's different for
Yeah,
all
we got a
different
building
classes,
built.
so
Charge.
instructors and,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're bringing in 2 pottery wheels and a kiln.
yep. We've got a small kiln, but we're supposed to get a bigger one,
Mhm.
so.
So I
Pretty
think
awesome.
Mary and Brad's, you know, deal is to have the annex become part of that.
Yeah.
They're gonna
A
have
hands-on
wares in
More
the front,
classes,
as one of our
yes.
first
Yeah.
artists
Yep.
type of building with
Yeah.
retail.
That's awesome.
So it's slow coming, because not everybody can invest money like that.
Do you have any kiln loans?
Not that I'm aware of.
Any other questions? Eric?
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Okay. With that being everything, our next meeting of the Winnsboro Economic Development Board of Directors will be held on Tuesday, November 26th. All requests to be placed on that agenda must be completed and turned into the City Hall before noon on Monday, 8 days prior to the meeting. And with that, we will adjourn at 6:35 p.m.
Folks.
Are you kidding me?
2% left.
The Tuesday before
Yeah.
I got
Thanksgiving?
95.
This is what Angie put on here.
Nobody told me any different. It's the fourth Tuesday of the month.
Is anybody gonna be in town?
I know, well, I will be. We'll be here.
I'll be here.
Oh, yeah. All of us will be in town, we're all working shifts.
I'll be here.
It's S&S for